G'day ladies and gentlemen, it is Duckville here, bringing you some StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm today on this very crisp and cold morning here in my hometown of Melbourne. We're going to be jumping across, ironically, to the very desolate and hot region of Akalon Wastes, and it is a Terran versus Zerg starting up at the top left-hand side here. On the Korean ladder, the very high Masters ranked players are our Red Terran here by the name of FXO Hope. He's I believe, from what I read, a very recent acquisition for the FXO team over in Korea, and he hasn't, as far as I understand, hasn't necessarily made a big splash just as of yet. We may see him in the GSTL team league. I must apologize if he has already been in the GSTL. I don't actually know. I haven't really had time to watch it, unfortunately. So if there are any games, please feel free to comment in the down in the comments of the video. There we go. We'll get it out. Of some games that Hope has played, because I haven't actually seen him play, but this should be a really interesting game. He is up against a blue Zerg down the bottom right hand side, a friend of mine who has been helping me out with learning some Zerg as I now play random, and sometimes I get a little bit worried about playing Zerg. It is Crazy as You, otherwise known as Team Iris's Crimson, and this is it should be a really interesting game. Crimson is an excellent player. He does really well in quite a lot of the sea tournaments. He's living down in New Zealand at the moment. Competes in quite a lot of the sea tournaments. One of the really good Zerg players that, as everyone knows, we have down here in the sea region, and as we said, does quite well. And we'll see what he gets up to here today on this map. It looks as if Hope has got that gas up pretty quickly, so we'll probably see him go for a Reaper to open us up, a very common sort of thing in this matchup. Crimson just going to make his way slowly across, sending that drone out to scout out what's going on, sees the racks, sees the gas, and that's basically all you need to know at this point as a Zerg player. You know, you just sort of get in, you see, is there gas? Alright, there it is. It's most likely going to be a Reaper. Now, I think sort of as the game sort of evolves a little bit further with these kind of Reaper attacks, some people are going to get gas and then actually be doing something else a little bit tricky. Because what it does, like when you make those Reapers, it obviously forces a Zerg to get out a couple of Queens, get some gas in as quickly as they can so that they can get the metabolic boost activated, and then they can actually fend off those Reapers that come across the map. So I think I'm still waiting to see it, but I'm sure someone is going to just sort of perhaps innovate. I have to laugh at my own jokes. That's a sad thing about solo casting, but perhaps someone is going to make a some sort of build that's a little bit tricky. It says, "Ooh, I've got some gas out, but I'm actually making like you know, a proxy cloaked banshee or something like that, just to really screw with the Zerg players." And that'll be quite funny if and when it does happen, because I'm sure it will happen at some point. But anyway, Hope has gotten inside his opponent's main base, sees the gas coming out, will be able to have a little bit of a battle with these links. Crimson very on the spot with his micro there, very nicely done to keep those lings alive. At this point, you kind of, as a Zerg player, you really only want to make these first 6 lings. All this done, well, he's actually made 8 in total now, but you just really want to make 6 at a maximum. Some people will go up to 8. If you go up to 10, that's really starting to cut into the efficiency of your drone production. So what a lot of people like to do is get 6, just sort of you know, threaten to attack the Reaper and try and get across and poke him in the eye or something like that with those lings. And then once the Queens are out, your drones should be safe. And then all you need to do, sit the lings back for a moment until they get their metabolic boost, which is now just under halfway done for Crimson at this point. And then what you can do is you can chase those Reapers back across the map, try and kill them off if you can. You don't necessarily have to, you know, go to the ends of the earth to try and kill them off, but if you can, that sort of can limit the pressure that a Terran player can do later on as they transition into these Hellions, which we can now see coming out from Hope. He's sitting on a total of 23 SCVs at this point. His natural is now established. Crimson has got 32 drones up and running, a few more on the way as the metabolic boost is just about to complete. Third Queen also being produced. This gal is for spreading some creep right at the start. You want to get, it sort of depends on how you play, but most players will want to try and get a creep shimmer going back up inside the main base so that you can link the main to the natural. Some players like to get one started that heads down towards the third base very quickly, and it's sort of, as we said, it's very dependent on how you like to play. But Crimson looks like we'll go across with that drone right at the start, and he's going to put that third base down, and we'll just transition. Quite standard for the time being. As you can see, Crimson is going to link up the third, it looks like, but the first few Hellions are out. Now these guys will deflect any initial sort of Ling pressure that can come across at this sort of point from a Zerg player. From time to time, of course, as anyone has watched StarTale's life, a lot of Zerg players, it's just sort of random points will pick up a whole bunch of Lings and try and push across the map, get some damage done before the Terran can actually set up a wall or anything like that in a bunker and get too many Hellions out. But this has faded off just a little bit, just because of the Hellion and Reaper pressure right at the start of the game. So Crimson getting prepared for this, sets up a little bit of a wall. Double Evo Chambers going down, very much expecting +1 melee and carapace to get started. This has pretty much become just the standard affair for these kind of games here. And there he goes, he gets started with that. Spinecrawler as well, a 4th Queen also popping out, so we will see him start to really get into that creep spread now as the extra gases go down, and we can see the drone count continuing to climb. So things playing out pretty standard for the time being between these two players. We can see that behind all of this, we've got Hope now ticking up to his bio. We've got Stim just about to finish up. Widowmine's probably going to be the weapon of choice for him. We do have those double eBays down in the back, researching the +1 weapons and armor for those infantry units. So he is going to have a nice little macro style for the time being, where he's going to look to try and get out some bioforces. We'll probably see a push in a couple of minutes or so. Just basically once the +1 weapons and armor are sort of getting towards their completion, we'll probably see Hope push across the map, try and get some damage done if he can, and we'll see if he can. What you want to do at that point is sort of delay the third, whether it be kill it off or kill some of the drones at the third base. That is a nice way to start off the game as a Terran player, but this buys you some time to get your +2 weapon started. It allows you to get the Widowmines up and running. Of course, Drilling Claws is a very important upgrade as well, and these are the sorts of things that a Terran player will want to look towards in this sort of stage of the game at this point. But Crimson, very elaborate with his Overlord placement, covering these sorts of areas that a Terran player will generally want to fly some medevacs through. If we look on the minimap here, this sort of position just up to the top is a very common path, so it's always a very sort of standard thing to see Zerg players put their Overlords in this sort of pathway that Crimson has done. Also down the bottom, once again, a very standard sort of thing to see medevacs fly through this direction, as it is one of the most safe routes to go across the map. So we can see that Hope is continuing with that tech. The combat shield's now on the way. The first push is probably going to get started soon, I would say. Normally you'd want to look towards getting this out before the mutas can get out on the field. We do still have those 4 Hellions that are available as well for coming along with this push, but as we can see, the third base attempting to drop down there with that orbital command for Hope, but unfortunately there is an Overlord. You can sort of see it. There it is. There is an Overlord just under there that is blocking off that, recarpeting the third base, and that is an unfortunate sort of thing for Hope, who is looking to get his macro off to a good start. So both the third bases very nicely blocked off there by Crimson. He's got his 4th hatchery on the way, or is all done. Spire just about to complete, and we'll probably see him move into a normal sort of Mutaling Bane composition here at the early phase of the game. It allows you to deflect these kind of bio attacks by utilizing Banelings, rolling them on top of the bio forces there. You can also use the medevacs to stop drops. And as we can see, Hope going to go for that push. We've got the +1 weapons done. It feels like this is just a tiny bit late. As we can see, 10 mutas now on the way for Crimson right now. He's got, where are all the Lings? We've got some Lings and a few Banes here morphing in at the third base, but they're a little bit out of position right now. But Hope now pushing through. He's got some creep tumors that have been disposed of. What he wants to be very careful of is sort of pushing onto this creep. There is so much creep here surrounding the backside of his attack, and we'll see him splitting up some of the units here. Will they be split up enough? Looks like no is the answer there. Where were the splits from Hope? Unfortunately, like, he split up 3 groups, but there were just so many of the Marines in each of the groups, and Crimson freely able to blast all of those Marines down. We see one of the medevacs that was full of units actually gets taken out as well, and the first few Widowmines do come across, but unfortunately there just isn't enough at this point here. Yeah, it looks like Crimson isn't going to actually get too much done, especially with a Widowmine hit like that, but we'll see the attack does quite a lot of damage there for Crimson. That counter push blasted apart quite a lot of those Marines when the Banelings rolled through, and he's now free to take a 4th base. You could possibly even look at setting up a 5th hatchery, but it's obviously that'd be a very risky one. But at this point, our Zerg player is proceeding along quite nicely with +2 to melee and Carapace on the way, +1 on the flyer attacks, also morphing in along with an infestation pit. So Crimson looking to head towards the hive tech very soon. We may see a few infestors come out. You're still, they're still a very powerful force, especially when utilizing a composition that has lots of Banes, and then obviously towards the hive tech stage has a lot of ultras. If you can lock down bioforces with those fungals, it is an absolute, I suppose, joy for a Zerg player to try and roll through with ultras, just cleaning up and cleaving up all of these bio units that can be fungals. So we'll see how Hope's going to deal with this. A couple of Marines going to stop off and jump in that bunker to protect this 3rd base. Very nicely done. Nice little setup with the defense here, but it looks like he is going to have a little bit of trouble coming in. Very interestingly, the double turrets going up for Hope. This is something which it was really weird. You got to see this a lot in Brood War. The Terran players would sort of set up little batteries of missile turrets like this, and it was something that, I don't know, you never really see it that much in StarCraft 2, but apart from Hope utilizing it here, of course, it does do quite a lot of damage. One of these mutas is very low, in fact, so low that he's dead. And Crimson going to attack in here, maybe able to take out the double E-base, but the big attack now pushing through at the Zerg side of the map. Baneling's just rolling through. Widowmine's actually doing a pretty reasonable job, and Crimson will be forced to back off for the moment. If Hope can actually utilize those splits there, he will be able to keep a lot of those Marines alive. Does deflect the muta attack inside the main base, and now, as we can see, this is a very dangerous position here for Hope. He will need to get some really good splits going, and it looks, well, Crimson was forced to back off here. There wasn't really anything to hold the Marines down, like we kind of mentioned. Having fungal and that kind of thing is a really nice addition to the army, this kind of army that you have. And none of that just at the moment, but he is going straight up to the hive. Burrow is also being researched right now, so we may get to see some Baneling landmines coming out of Crimson, and this could be very interesting, but it looks like a flank coming through. Ling's trying to trap some of those Marines. Baneling's exploding on top of reasonably sized groups of those Marines, but Crimson, he is going to be able to hold off this attack. However, the counter-attack may come along from Hope. Is he going to be able to get enough Marines together? It looks like there is quite a sizable force. The medevacs up in the sky trying to do their best to heal them up. One lonely Marine, the Rambo of Marines, is sitting down here at the 4th base, and then he's gone. So Crimson cleaning up all of this. One thing I want to point to is the creep spread. Doing a decent job right now. Is just pushing up the right-hand side. Unfortunately, not really able to get too far on the left just because of this is where the Terran has been pushing. Also has all this vision through the bottom and the top right-hand side of the map, which is a really, really great tactic to utilize here. Any Zerg player would really love to see more Zergs really splitting up their overlords like this to try and get some really good vision out on the map. But speaking of vision, it's now being cut down. Hope has decided that it is not cool to have all that creep out on the map. A couple of Burrow Banelings here. Boom, they go, and that tears up a huge amount of those Marines. Hope is going to be very, very sad about that. Crimson says, you call those Widow Mines? These are Widow Mines, and borrows a couple of Banes and takes out a large contingent of those Marines here. But now Hope moving into a position here where he may be able to slowly push in to the 3rd base here, but he does need to be very, very careful of this area here. If Lings or anything like that can trap the Marines in this position, it is going to be lights out as the Banelings will try and sweep through. We can see Crimson is looking to push back across both sides here. Now just rolling through at the front, coming through at the back. Baneling's getting so much damage done. A Widowmine hit does go quite nicely there for Hope, but unfortunately he just does not have enough. He's now down at 140 supply and trying to remax as quickly as possible. Ultras now making their way onto the field as well, and it looks like these Banelings are getting a huge amount of damage done here, and Crimson we'll lose some of these units here, but there are those Banelings yet again. Will he be able to get a good hit off? Looks like a scan goes down, and a detonation from Crimson. He had to detonate it there just because the scan was going off on those Banelings, so had to fall back for the time being and let them detonate. So things going to go back to a passive state for now. Let's look at the situation with the upgrades. We've got Hope up to 2-3. His +3 on the armor, just about to finish up. +2 on vehicle weapons. It's just about vehicle armor is just about to finish up. You're wondering why it's vehicle armor? Well, Widowmines don't get any bonuses from attack upgrades because they effectively utilize a spell when they shoot that missile, so it's not actually any sort of a weapon that can be upgraded. So that's why you will virtually never see vehicle weapons come out in TVZ when a Terran is going for a Biomine style. So it looks like we will have Hope finally taking his 4th base. We would have loved to see this a lot earlier. I feel like that is just way too slow for this sort of situation of the game. He hasn't been able to delay the 3rd or the 4th or even the 5th base of Crimson, who has now got a large total of 85 drones out on the map. That is a really nice sort of total for him, where he's got the economy. He's going to have the 9th and 10th gas here at this 5th base, and he's going to be able to bring in so much that his macro is just going to go off the charts right now. As we can see, he's looking to push in. Not sure how much this is going to get done. A lot of Widowmines here, a lot of Marines as well. Marauders being added into the mix for Hope as well. And some of these Widowmine hits are just brilliant for Hope right now. It looks like a lot of those lings being splayed across the map right now. Widowmines will be able to hold back this attack along with those Marines now with their 3-3. A couple of good bailing hits there from Crimson, and that really does hold back the push. That could have been another counter push from Hope coming along, but with those pretty decent Bane hits that came out of Crimson there, he's not going to be able to sort of counter push as much as he would like to at this point. So large total of racks out for Hope. He's now starting to add in those Marauders. We mentioned that before as a nice sort of way to transition into a very heavy sort of anti-Ultralist force here. We've got these guys now getting pretty sizable in number. 6 more coming out from Crimson very soon. More drones on the way. A couple of scans go down from our Terran player Hope, just trying to see what's going on. Where is he going to be able to drop? Where is all that tech? And he says, well, you got a buffet inside the main base. We've got the Infestation Pit, the Spire as well, along with the Ultralist Den and the Hive. A couple of fungals go astray there for Crimson. Not able to capture those medevacs here, but he does force the attack back. So this is a very, very contentious sort of point of the game right now, where our Terran player is trying to drop. He's trying to get some attack damage done at the 5th base here. Some economic damage would be brilliant here for Hope at this point, but what he really wants is this position here. If he can take out some of these key buildings, like the Infestation Pit, like the Ultra Cavern, the Spawning Pool as well, and then that Hive as well, he can put himself in a very nice position. But the question is, will he be able to get in there and get that damage done? With all of this vision here for Crimson, he's just able to see what is going on, when and where these medevacs are going to be coming in. Unfortunately, wasn't able to see this push coming through, and now these Widowmines burrowing into position here. Will he be able to defend this attack that is now coming into this base? Some infested Terrans coming out. A very nice choice, soaking up some of those Widowmines. Very nicely done. Fungal growth also going down. We see some of the Widowmines taking out some of those infestors, and it looks like Crimson is going to be able to hold this attack back, but the drop's now pushing in. Hope dropping in the main base. There are some static defenses ready to defend, but will it be enough? The Spine Crawler able to poke away at some of these Marines and the Marauders, but there is an extra Spine Crawler here, and that is going to be it for Crimson inside the main base. So these Marines and Marauders would love to see them targeting down a building of an actual interesting building instead of like Spore Crawlers or something there. So unfortunately not able to kill off the spawning pool there. And at Crimson, he'll be quite happy that everything is nice and safe for the moment. But what I would really like to see is some more static defenses here. You can just throw drones to the wind right now. Just build up build another 15 drones or something like that. Keep your drone count at a nice total of that sort of 70 to 85 mark. But I mean, really, we do need to see some static defense back inside the main. It would be excellent if he just could say, all right, the main's all cool. We've got enough static defense back in there to deflect drops like this that are coming across from Hope. And, you know, I can keep the rest of my forces out on the field. And it looks like another infestor whiffing the fungal growth, unfortunately, there for Crimson. But looks like we are going to get another attack. Some Marauders being very brave there, pushing across, trying to make their way into this huge contingent of Ultras. There are, wow, is that 14 Ultras are out on the map right now for Crimson. They've got their 5-3 upgrades, able to cut through anything at this point. And these Marauders doing their best to kite back and forth into the Widowmine field just inside the main and natural base here, where the Widowmines will help out. And it looks like if he can utilize a little bit of a SimCity here, Hope will be able to hold this attack back, but now the drop is making its way inside the main. Crimson relatively well prepared, but it is only Infestors here, and if they utilize all their energy here, that is not going to be available out on the field where those Ultras do need those Infestors to hold down the units. Of course, we saw the kiting back and forth from Hope just before, and unfortunately that means that your Ultras have a very hard time trying to beat down all of those Terran forces. But looks like the few Lings now coming back inside, attempting to pick them up there, but unfortunately was not able to get it done. Crimson, one thing which he has not stopped on is the creep spread. However, it is only making its way through a certain part of the map. We can see that this particular area is covered. We'd love to see it spreading a little bit further out across this way. The Queens over here do have quite a lot of energy available. In fact, all of them are maxed out at this point. We'd love to see just a couple of tumors. You don't have to go overboard and make 73 tumors or something like that, but a couple to start spreading the creep this way so that he can get some good surrounds on the attack forces, not to mention start pushing towards the third base over here of Hope. But it looks like a big Doom drop now proceeding across the map right now. 4 medevacs loaded up with Marines and Marauders. Will they be able to get some damage done? Crimson making his way back inside with these Infestors. Again, defending with the Infestors, it's very good if he can get those fungals off and hold down the units before they can get out of the medevacs. But I mean, this is a lot of energy that is now not available out on the map. But we'll see if he is able to defend, actually losing a couple of those Infestors there. And, well, we do have this attack now proceeding through. We'll go to the main battle, surrounding the Marines, the Marauders, and the Mines there with some of those Lings, the Ultras chomping them apart. But the drop inside the main base is now free to just wreak absolute havoc here. Losing the spawning pool, losing the Greater Spire. Ultralisk Cavern is next. Ultra Cavern goes down. The Hive also goes down. And I think the Hope has got is certainly a lot of damage done. Picks up, gets out of there and says, thank you, mother, for the rabbits. I am out of here now. But Ultralisk Cavern building down here for Crimson. He's got the lair now morphing it as well, along with the secondary spawning pool already built. So he's kind of well prepared for this sort of situation, but it is still a little bit of an investment that kind of sucks. It sort of says, well, I didn't really want to have to spend all that money. I didn't want to have that kind of downtime on building some more Ultras, but, you know, it's something we kind of have to deal with here. So we see Crimson pushing across yet again. These Lings attempting to get us around on some of these bio units. Very nicely done for the most part. He's captured quite a lot of those units, but again, this is the point where those Infestors would be wonderful, because you can sort of lock down some of these bio units at the back, and then your Ultras can just clean them up quite easily. The drop comes back inside the main base. Nothing really here to do some damage to, but he will be losing some of these Ultras. They're very low on health right now. There are the Infestors finally coming along, but as you can see, not too much energy available. Will he be able to clean up some of those units? It looks like a, wow, very clever pickup and drop there by Hope. He's now starting to build up some starports at the back with some tech labs added on, so we'll probably see a switch into the Ravens right now for our Terran player. He's now secured, well, he's about to secure a 5th base down towards the bottom left side. He's continuing to utilize this drop inside the main base. It looks like these Marines and Marauders may be able to find the secondary spawning pool and the Ultralisk Cavern as well. They do, in fact, find it. Will they be able to get it is the big question here. Marines and Ultras finally making their way back. That creep spread may have had a pretty big effect here. Wow, the last shot out of a Marauder before he jumps inside the medevac does clean up the spawning pools. So Crimson forced to build another one down here at the 3rd, but again, Terran player Hope is just all over the place with these drops. He's doing an excellent job with that, but now we can see he's having a little bit of trouble getting this 5th base up and running, and with his main mine out, natural done, and the 3rd basically done at this point, his bank is going to start to be very limited at this point. So we'll see how Crimson is going to take advantage of that. He's got a huge amount of Banelings now, morphing in 19 Banes in total, alongside the already very, very present Ultralisk, totaling 15. We've got the Banelings now rolling up. Will he be able to get some fungal growths into some big hits here? It looks like the answer is no. The Infestor's a little bit far behind, does get a couple of fungals on top of the Banshees that have now come out from Hope, and it looks like, well, that 5th base is not going to happen here. Hope just having a really hard time with his income now, despite the fact that, well, obviously, yes, he is a Terran, he's got some mules that he can utilize, he's going to start to be having a really, really hard time bringing in all those minerals he needs. And Crimson, he says, I do not care about this sort of situation. I've got Ultras out, I've got a few fungals available. We've got 7 Ultras now building up for him as well. And despite the Banshees up in the air, able to really easily counter these Ultras, because unfortunately they can't headbutt the Banshees for some reason, Hope is forced to GG, as there is just too much to deal with. No real mineral income at this point. Like, it's a reasonable amount, but when you're trying to rebuild off all of these barracks inside the main base, it just sort of is a very, very troublesome position to be in. So Hope, GG's out. Very nicely played by Crimson from Team Iris, aka Crazy as You in this game, taking out a very highly regarded Korean player who has joined up with Team FXO in Hope. If you've got some Hellbats at the front, there's actually not too much that you're going to be able to do against that. It'd be a slow push inside that third base. So this position, at least, there's a little bit more space. Of course, there is a very similar sort of attack path from the south here.